The NZ EV Podcast, hosted by Theo, Gibson and Dee West, brought to you by Podcast New Zealand. Hello and welcome to the first New Zealand electric vehicle podcast. My name is Theo Gibson and I'm joined by my co-host Dee West. Hey Dee.
Hi, how you doing?
Very good. Have you had a good weekend?
I had a great weekend, yes. A lot of child wrangling and so forth, but that's pretty typical.
Yes, yeah, I had a lot of that as well. Hey, so this is our first podcast, so we should probably tell people who we are and what we're going to cover for this podcast. So,
excellent. Who's going to start?
I'll start. My name's Theo Gibson. I have been out of the EV scene for a while, but where my love for EVs first started was I did a bit of research on the net. During the time when petrol first hit $2 in Auckland, and it sort of drove me a bit crazy that we're having to spend so much on petrol, and found a couple of documentaries. One was Who Killed the Electric Car?
I am familiar with it.
I'm sure you are, with the wonderful Chelsea Sexton in it.
Yes.
Who you know well, I think.
I do. She's one of my dear friends.
Yeah. And that car, that documentary kind of inspired me to go and do a little bit more research into electric car conversions, because at the time you couldn't really buy an EV in New Zealand. That was sort of 2009. Mm-hmm. So I looked around the place and decided to convert a car. It was a 1990 Toyota Sierra, which is a very cool concept car that Toyota did when they were still doing kind of cool sporty cars.
We behind your back, we always said it was very hipster. Theo the hipster. Go boy.
It was very funny because I could only just fit in the car, and everyone always used to laugh at me when I was driving around in it, but I loved it. So it took me 3 years to convert the car. It was a great experience. I made a little kind of doco on the side as I was doing it. I was working at a film school at the time. And it was a big learning curve, but I met some great people.
Yes, you did. Yes, present company included.
Yeah, exactly. So while we were building the car, I did some EV expos, which is where I met Dee and her hubby Steve. And Nick Smith, who also works with you guys at ChargeNet.
He does. He's our Chief Operating Officer.
Yeah. So built the car, finished it off, got it all certified, drove it around for 3 years. It was very nice. But sadly, I had to I had a child.
Yep, you became a grown-up. Welcome to the club.
And a mortgage. Yep. And didn't have time to tinker around on the car anymore, so I had to sell it. But now I drive an Outlander PHEV, a 2004 one, which is effectively a Generation 1.
It is, but you do mostly full BEV, don't you?
Yes. Yeah.
I think most people do that.
Yeah.
There's all those stories about the Volts back in the day. Do you remember? And people would they'd go head to head on who could drive the most full electric, and it was thousands and thousands of kilometers. There's a really good story in the media about Jay Leno doing that. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he loved it. He's a notorious car guy, and back in the early days, he took his Volt, and it was his favorite. And he didn't take the Porsche, and he didn't take the Ferrari, he didn't take the Lamborghini. He drove the Volt, and he drove it in full electric.
But the Volt's no longer in production, is it?
I don't believe it is. No, there's the Bolt now, isn't there?
Oh yeah, the Bolt.
Yeah.
Which is the new one, which is coming out 2018, isn't it?
It's hard to say. And New Zealand is a force unto itself because we're such a small market, and because we're so far away. Yeah. We just don't get the love that everybody else gets. But there's that. But then there's also the advantage of our magnificent secondhand market. So every cloud has a silver lining, and every silver lining has a cloud. And regardless, the EV movement is here, so.
So I mean, Dee, so what's your background with EVs?
What is my background with EVs? Well, I have been in comms. I did an undergrad back in the 90s, showing my age, in international communications. And I've been in disruptive and emerging technology my entire adult life. So I worked in selling the internet.
Cool.
That's actually how I met my husband, who you know quite well.
Yes, I do.
Yes, the infamous, notorious Stephen West. So Steve this was a passion project for him about the same time you were getting into it. He was converting his own car. He was desperate to get the Tesla Roadster. He'd read about it, he'd heard about it, but he didn't think that it was an option.
Yeah.
So he converted his own MR2, was it?
Yeah, I think it was. I think so. Yeah.
And it worked and everything, but it was too heavy to get registered.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah. So, I mean, we took it out on a couple of tests off of public roads, obviously. As all converters do. As all converters, they would never. Ever break any rules. No. Never. We're not like that. We love the rules. But his tenacity paid off eventually, and after hounding Tesla in Australia, they finally sold him a Roadster, which we still have.
Yes.
And we took that everywhere. We took that to every show. We let every journalist and race car driver and enthusiast that wanted to drive it do so. And that just started the snowball effect. So he was. I've always been. Like I say, I've always been involved in emerging and disruptive technology, and I've also always been very passionate about social and environmental change and justice and sustainability. And you just don't have any more sustainable options for transport than electric, especially in a country like New Zealand. So I suppose we could explain that. I mean, most people, we're sort of entrenched in it, so we understand this just naturally. So the electricity that goes into your car has to come from somewhere.
It does, yep.
And there's a lot of people that are moving towards more personally autonomous solutions. They're putting on their own solar panels.
Yep.
They're putting up their own turbines.
Yeah, wind turbines.
Some are even doing micro hydro.
Yeah.
So that creates electricity that you can then put in your car, and it isn't dirty, and it doesn't come off from offshore.
It's not burning coal to make.
It comes from your very own backyard, and the sun, and the wind, and the water. And New Zealand itself has over 80% carbon neutral.
Which is really good. I mean, are there many other countries that are that kind of value of renewables? Must be a few.
There is a few. Obviously, Norway.
Yeah, Norway.
Norway's
good on Norwegians.
Almost 100. Yeah, they're next level. China is making it happen. They
kind of had to because they couldn't breathe or see anymore.
Correct, which caused some issues. But yeah, China has a huge population and history throughout the last few thousand years of the peasants revolting when things get bad.
Yeah.
And it wasn't lack of resources or food; it was lack of air and clean water that I think was making them really nervous. But the turnaround for them, I mean, they had this huge sort of metaphorical container ship of movement and coal and big industry, and they just went, enough.
Yeah.
We need to get sustainable.
Yes.
I mean, the water's not drinkable, there's acidification of the rain and the oceans, and people are getting lung cancer
just by walking down the street.
By walking down the street, and we need to do something.
Yes.
And so they have.
Yes.
They've gone a lot nuclear, and people will have opinions about that, but I'm not going to express my opinions about that at the moment. Of course, I have them, but nobody needs to know.
That's great. So, I mean, New Zealand, so at the moment, our climate for purchasing an EV is growing pretty rapidly.
Yes.
I mean, if we look back, 3 years...
when we started this,
you could only really buy a Nissan Leaf.
Well, not from Nissan. You could.
Yeah. That was the thing. I mean, if you wanted a Nissan, you had to import it.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning. The iMeave and the
Leaf. Yeah.
And the Leaf.
Yeah.
So the Mitsubishi iMeave, which is a discontinued car.
You can't forget the Teslas.
Yes.
There was about 80 Teslas here before they had an official presence.
Yes, that's true.
And I mean, that's when you think about the price of a Tesla.
That's quite impressive.
And exactly. And the fact that every owner that opted to buy one before Tesla's presence arrived here in New Zealand understood completely that if they needed it serviced, they had to send it all the way to Australia at their own expense. So we ended up doing that.
Thankfully, you don't need them serviced very often, or?
I wish I could say that. We've had, the only one that hasn't broken down for us is the X, but we've only had the X for 2 months.
Wow.
So the Roadster completely stopped working.
Really?
It's at the shop at the moment. This is a whole podcast.
Yes,
Tesla's customer services is an entire podcast.
I've been reading quite a lot recently.
Obviously,
and just people trying to book test drives and things. But we'll do that on another podcast.
We will do that on another podcast.
Yeah, no.
But they were also, there was a lot of early adopters. There was dozens and dozens and dozens. And in a lot of cases, we walked people through the process. We're not car salespeople. We don't want to sell cars.
No.
We want people to own them.
Yeah.
And we want to expose as many people to as many cars as possible. And we have 7 full electric vehicles in our personal fleet.
Yeah.
But our job is not to sell cars.
No.
Our job is to share information.
Yes.
And let people make their own decisions.
Yes.
And the whole time after we brought our first one in from England, that Tesla refuses to service. We were very clear to people that they would have to send it to Australia. So we suggested very strongly, we encouraged people to wait for Tesla to come because we thought that was imminent, and it was. But some people went ahead and took the plunge anyway, which is pretty cool.
It's really cool because
Very brave.
I remember hearing about this mythical roadster when I was doing my expos, and then Steve just rocks up and says,
Hey,
"Hi guys!" And it's like, oh wow,
but that was at the theatre,
actually
wasn't it?
here. It was at the Tapak Theatre,
Tapak, I
opposite
love
the
them.
zoo there.
Yeah.
We were in a couple of expos there, but it was very, very cool to see that car in the flesh.
Did he let you drive it then?
No, I don't think I did. I was sort of madly running around doing an expo.
Yeah, there is that.
So when you had that, were you just charging at home then, obviously?
Absolutely. You can't fast charge it.
No.
It doesn't have that. There's the upgrade. It's like $70 grand US or something. And I mean, that's on the cards eventually, but our resources are a little tied up at the moment.
You've got a few things on.
We have a couple things going, actually, this has been a weird weekend for me.
Yeah.
Everybody, all of my really close friends, like that we saw, and it was like a few dozen people, they're like, so Dee, you've done it. You can tick the box.
Yeah.
This is the EV's coming to New Zealand, and your company's growing at the rate that you don't have to worry too much. What's next? And I'm like, are you kidding? I'm gonna sleep for a month. That's what's next in about 3 years once the network's actually in and everything's done and the software's perfect. But now people are funny.
Yeah.
But we love it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a very exciting world to be involved in at the moment. I mean, let's just break it down for people who don't know anything about electric vehicles. Okay, so petrol car, we all know, we've had them for years. You go to the gas station, you put gas in your car, and you drive around, and you get 300, 400, 500 k's if you're lucky to a tank of gas.
And you're spitting out particulate matter and carbon and a little bit of methane and a whole bunch of yuckies.
Yeah. And basically, petrol will go up and down in price, and we don't really have much control over that.
Most of the petrol that we buy in from Saudi Arabia, and they have an absolutely appalling human rights record.
Yeah.
And it breaks my brain, and we don't have to do that. And then we send our own high-value petrol offshore. But we don't need to pull any more out either.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So comparing that to an electric car, so an electric car you plug in, you charge it up. It has batteries in it. Those batteries hold a charge which powers your electric motor, and depending on the size of those batteries gives you a different range, so
and
the
a
more
different amount of power.
And a different amount of power and torque. So
can you describe torque?
Torque.
It's how fast you go from...
It's how fast you go when you put your foot down on the pedal. It's very, very satisfying in an electric car.
It is.
Once you've driven an electric car, you have to do it, don't you? You have to get in an electric car and really experience what it's like to drive, because once you've gone, you never really want to go back, because it's so satisfying and it's such a pleasure to drive and to get that instant acceleration.
Absolutely.
And silence. Well, with my conversion, I did have a very satisfying kind of Minority Report electric car sound going on.
Nice. Did you do that on purpose?
No. It was just this nice little sort of electric motor sound. I just loved it. But I mean, a lot of the new electric cars you don't really hear much.
No, some of them have a sound that they put in on purpose. Like,
yes. Mine's got a Cylon hum, the Outlander.
Yeah. So that happens because we need to do an episode on myths.
Yes.
We need to do an episode on EV myths because it's wow. Like the stuff I hear, I'm like, oh, I just want to.
And it just gets better.
And the myths just get. And then the Koch brothers, of course, are spending billions of dollars, pushing out myths and trying to encourage. Anyway, this is stuff that we deal with daily. The thing with an electric car, and this is the absolute truth, you can very, very slowly charge your car anywhere you can plug in a hairdryer, right?
Yeah.
So people are
any standard household plug you can plug your car in.
Generally 8 amps. Yeah. So if you've got like a 120, 140 kilometer range Gen 2 Leaf or Outlander or something like that, it's going to take you 10, 15, 20 hours if you're just hanging a cord, out the window, or which we don't recommend, but you can in an emergency, or plugging in at literally any power socket.
Yes.
So you'll get that 8 amps, and then more realistically, if you're on the move and you're traveling long distances, you're going to want what is called fast charging.
Yes.
Yeah, did you want to take a stab at that?
Yeah, so fast charging, basically, it just sends a huge chunk of power into your battery pack incredibly quickly. So you charge up to, 80% in a relatively short period of time. And there's generally, you're going to have to go to a charging station to achieve that, right?
Yes, you are.
You can get them installed at home?
You could, for the bargain price of about $60,000.
Yeah, so it's a bit expensive.
Little tiny bit expensive. It's going to take you, the return on investment for just one car, not great.
Yeah, exactly.
Not great.
But so thankfully for New Zealand, finally we have fast chargers going in around the country, and thanks to Dee and Steve for doing that. So ChargeNet does supply that service.
We do. Now we're very aware that all of the major energy sector players had been watching this technology with great interest for a very, very long time. The only reason that we came into the market when we did is because we were sick of waiting. Yeah. We were sick of waiting for somebody to do it. And also our own commercial experience, Steve's commercial experience with Serato is making an excellent product and listening to people and listening to what they need and providing it at a reasonable price. You need somebody special to do that because some people are more concerned with profit and we're more concerned with being sustainable but doing the right thing. Yes. And I'm not blowing my own trumpet here. I like, hand on heart, we're GCs and we're good people because it's the right thing to be and because I believe that that's going to make us more sustainable in the long run. So we did our homework. We looked at all of the different options for fast chargers. And the theme that came up over and over again in case study information, talking to people in Norway, in California, in all over the planet, Canada, just all over the world, is you set the standard early and clearly that you charge for fast charging because it's a premium product, like you say.
Absolutely. If you it's you're paying for the convenience of charging, aren't you? I mean that's
like
what
super
it is.
Fast.
Yeah,
rather
super
than doing
fast.
10 hours
20 minutes you're charging up to 80%. So it means you're not going to be using it all the time. But if you need to drive to Wellington or you need to drive down the rest of the country, you've got that convenience and you can do that.
But some people do use it all the time because some people in New Zealand, most people in New Zealand have a garage and an outlet, so they tend to
charge overnight.
They tend to charge overnight. They tend to put a little bit of money, like $1,000 or $2,000, into a wall-mounted unit that speeds up the charging rate a little bit.
It's a little bit,
just a little
15
bit.
amps or 32 amps,
which is still pretty. That's double. Double what you'd get if you just plugged it in normally. But we want people to definitely talk to their electricians and make sure that their setup is adequate. Because we
don't go rigging that stuff up yourself.
No, please don't. But in most cases, Kiwis do have a garage to charge at. A lot of countries they don't. So people are completely reliant on public charging. Yeah. There's 2 levels. Well, there's more than 2 levels, but there's regular and fast charging. And we provide fast charging. We have every intention of coming to the market with an offering in the slow to medium range as well, again, because it's the right thing to do. Yeah. And also the software that we offer allows smart collection of data and initiates the charge and runs the diagnostics.
Yeah.
And that's going to be really important when people like property developers.
Yes.
And so forth, they'll want to know who's charging and when, and they'll want to know. And it'll be a tap in, tap out system, and it'll just become standard.
Yeah.
But in some cases, even in New Zealand, like places like Wellington, there's people that just don't have a garage.
No.
They don't have off-street parking.
Yeah.
So they use our system, and we love them for it. Thank you. But for the most part, Kiwis will just charge at home. Almost on the move.
Yeah, absolutely. So electric cars, you can charge them fast, which means that they're very cheap and affordable to run. In terms of cost for maintenance, if you compare them to petrol cars, ICE cars, internal combustion engine vehicles, they're like minimal. I mean, you're doing brake pads and tyres effectively.
Yeah, windscreen wipers.
Oh, windscreen wipers.
Those are important.
And you might need to wash it occasionally.
Well, actually, it's funny you say that. Okay, so the money that you save on servicing, because 60% of the money that changes hands in the vehicle industry in New Zealand is after-sales service currently.
Wow.
That's going to change, obviously, with the adoption of electric vehicles. And we're having some trouble catching up and having the right diagnostic tools and well-trained individuals. It is definitely the place of our tertiary institutes to embrace this and train the next generation. We're not overly excited about elbowing mechanics out of their industry.
No.
That's not sort of what we're here for, but there is going to be a shift in where people spend their money. And for us, personally, we spend an absolute ton on detailing.
Yes.
And we would have done that before because we'd be like, I'll wash it myself, because I got to change the oil and I got to change the spark plugs and it's really fucking annoying. And so our change in behavior, I think, is probably indicative of a lot of people's change. Like people will, do detailing and painting and put body kits on or whatever because they've got a little bit of money.
Yeah, because they can actually play around now. They don't have to worry about just keeping
it on the road. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's still catastrophic failures occasionally, and so on and so forth. And we need a system and we need an industry to take care of that. So
I know. When I was involved with a conversation at Unitec about 3 years ago about changing the way that they train their students too. But I think at the time the OEMs weren't giving them the information that they needed to train the students to. I'm sure that's changing now that they're more out there.
It is. That's a good segue because we were discussing before we started rolling, and everyone has come on board except for Toyota hasn't put their hat in the ring yet because they're still back in hydrogen.
No. Yeah.
Don't do it.
I know.
What?
Have you actually looked into the pressure that the hydrogen has to be under?
Oh yeah, the danger involved, and also the money. I mean, just kidding New Zealand out.
Yes.
In a basic infrastructure, it cost about $1 billion.
It's just insane.
Why would we? And then we just be beholden to the hydrogen stations, which would be farther away than the charging stations anyway. Yeah. There is no business case for it.
I mean, are there any countries that?
Japan.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, they're loving it.
Really?
Oh yeah. No, seriously, it scares me. I don't like.
I would think of Japanese people being quite progressive in terms of their.
Well, they've got 1,500 CHAdeMO chargers. I mean, like or 4,000 or something. I should look that up, but my internet's not working. But they are progressive. But there's a bunch of stuff happening, and they are backing hydrogen, which is interesting.
Till it blows up in their face.
Yeah, well, like literally, but I hope not. I hope it doesn't. But yeah, I feel like we've got enough momentum.
Yes.
Internationally. I mean, maybe not in places like Australia or Texas. Actually, I don't know. I'd be interested to see what the stats are in Texas.
What's going on in Australia?
They just don't have a lot of cars.
Right.
So they've got a very different car culture than New Zealand.
Well, yeah.
They've also been protecting their non-existent manufacturing industry for quite a while. Do you remember that?
Yes.
There is no manufacturing in Australia, but there's very, very stringent import laws.
Right.
Hugely. That's why there was Holdens everywhere in Australia. And you never saw Japanese cars.
Yes.
Whereas New Zealand roads are absolutely littered
with them.
Yeah. So...
Wow, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, so in New Zealand we're up to about, what, 3,500, probably more now.
A little bit over that, yeah.
Registered EVs so far, which is pretty good.
Awesome. I'm proud of us. Go us. We also, there was a breakfast show on not too long ago with a bunch of people taking credit for that.
Really?
Yeah. You didn't see it?
No, I missed that one.
Okay, I'll show it to you later.
Yeah, okay, cool.
It's all good. Yeah. It wasn't you and me.
No,
it was them.
Oh.
It was them. They did it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it wasn't the champions. Wasn't the people that bought the cars.
Wasn't the people who've been going on about it for years?
Nope. It was them. So yeah. But
great.
that's sort of the story of our. Oh, and we needed to cover that as well.
Yes.
The trust.
Yes. So tell us about your trust.
Tell us about our trust. Okay. So some time ago, after our first Model S came in, we wanted to take it for a drive and show everybody in New Zealand that you could drive from one end of New Zealand to the other. So our very good friend Carl Barlev, he's based over in Waiheke with his beautiful wife Lisa and their 3 kids. And he also had a car. He brought it over from Norway, that beautiful forest green.
The black, forest green one.
It was forest green, yeah. And that car, this is so cool, that car won the, what's that place? It's in Russia, and it's cold.
Isn't all of Russia cold?
I don't know. Anyway, it's a cold place in Russia to Monaco, and so they had to drive across like Africa.
Oh yeah.
Or something. No, or across Europe or whatever.
Yeah.
And they won. So he had Prince Philip sitting in that car. And he went. He doesn't really drink at all, and he won this huge Magnum. So there's like 14 legs. So all but 2 of the legs he won. Like he got there first, and so he gets a huge Magnum, and he's like, I don't know what to do with this. So he gave it away. I love that man. He's so great. Anyway, so him and I and Nick Smith, who is our COO, we got into the cars and we went and we drove, and it was January and everybody was away. And everything was closed, and
just you guys, right?
Just us that time, yeah. And my best friend from high school in Canada was staying with me, so she came along to keep an eye on the baby, who's not a baby anymore. And we drove all the way down to Bluff.
Cool.
All the way back up again, and that was the beginning of the trust. We got back, we registered it as a charitable trust, and it has grown absolutely beyond anybody's comprehension. And our entire mandate at the moment, just right this instant, is, as you were saying at the very beginning of this, get people in the cars. Yeah. If you get people in the cars, so we do ride and drive days. We've got absolute superstars like Mark Walkington and Justin Boyd and John Leanman and Lisa Herkt, and oh my gosh, I could name 30 of them. But
that's great.
And they organize local events, and are our local champions, and we're talking thousands of rides and drives are happening.
Wow. And these are cars they've invested in, right?
Yeah, these are their personal cars.
Their personal cars.
Yeah, the passion is phenomenal.
That's fantastic.
It's so fantastic. And I mean, we can't thank them enough. And we're under-resourced, like super under-resourced. And people do it and at their own expense and off their own backs. And I can't thank them enough. So
that's great.
It is. And it's fun as well. We do enjoy our road trips. We're a little tired and kind of sick of each other by the time we get home, but we enjoy it.
Great. That's really, really cool. So I just wanted to mention a few other things before we get off the topic of EVs. So we've got Tesla here in New Zealand, right?
Yeah.
And
they're based up at the Ponsonby Road Fire Station?
Yes. So they've got a shop opening up pretty soon in Auckland. Mm-hmm. But people may have seen in the media there's been the Tesla Model 3 that's been announced. That was the lower cost option from Tesla, right?
The speculation's about 70.
Yeah. So 35 US is what it's advertised at. So about 70 grand New Zealand, which isn't too bad. I mean, a BMW i3 is 80.
The same.
Yeah, the same.
But a little bit more, but I love my i3.
So the i3 is what, hybrid and EV?
You can have either. So I've got a full BEV with a 200k range.
Yeah.
It's going on a road trip starting today. It's leaving the office, and I won't see it again until early September, but that's okay. I very much trust the woman that's taking it for a drive, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, no, it's great, and you have both options.
Yes.
Because some people are a little bit nervous about the full BEV.
You might be able to tell me this, but is it more like the Volt in the fact that it is a generator charging the batteries which drive the car?
Oh, that would be a little technical for an entity. Yeah, no, I don't know.
We have to I'll ask
Stephen.
someone. Yeah, get Stephen.
Yeah, he'll know.
We've got Steve coming in. Just in terms of our podcast layout, we've got Nick Smith and Alan Miller who did conversions. They're coming in next week, so we're talking with them. And then third podcast, we're going to be talking to Steve about ChargeNet, and Dee will be on that one as well. And then we're hoping to get Chelsea Sexton in for our fourth one, maybe.
Yeah,
or
she's
we'll
here
see how
in
we
July.
Go. Yeah,
the end of the month. So, I'll have a chat to her.
Yeah, so we've got lots of more interesting people to come on the program. But what I wanted to just point out about the Tesla Model 3 is that it has been spotted in Auckland.
That was funny, actually. I don't know.
At the airport, Auckland Airport.
At the airport, Auckland Airport. So we administrate a lot of the communities online, particularly. We don't spend as much time on Twitter as we'd like to because we're under-resourced.
Yes.
But we spend a lot of time on Facebook.
Yes.
And we manage NZ EV owners and the Better NZ leading the charge page, et cetera. And I got a flood of private messages with pictures of the Model 3, and they're like, don't tell anybody where you got it. I'm like, okay. And it was just whoom. And then, and then it hit mainstream media as well. It actually hit international mainstream media.
Oh,
we
really?
had my husband Steve was doing a talk in Monterey, and he got to be quite good friends with Steve Wozniak.
Yes.
And Steve Wozniak emails him, and he's like, Steve, I saw this, thought of you. And he's like, yeah, I know, it was our people. But so, I mean, this is how close the community is.
Yeah.
Like Steve Wozniak, he drives Tesla, but then I think he's also got a Bolt that he loves.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, we're serious about this stuff. This is and once you got something, it's like being a parent, right?
Yes,
like you've already got that in common. You know, you meet somebody at a party and they drive an electric vehicle, and you're like, wow. Can we talk about this? So yeah, no, it's good times, and I guess we're not going to have this magic forever.
No.
So we're gonna really
enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely, and all the challenges therein.
Yeah. But yeah, that Model 3, they've just brought it in, basically, brought it into the country to go and test drive it down the South Island.
Yeah, that's a speculation. Yeah, another friend of ours, a journalist from France, was the one that broke that story.
Because they've got a cold testing ground that's open up 3 months of the year that they go and do cold weather testing for cars. So, you know, considering they've had a bit of snow down in South Island. They sure have. We're on a weather warning this weekend. But it worked out well with their timelines. Yeah. So and it's kind of a big deal that New Zealand gets it, and I don't know how they thought that they were going to keep it a secret, and they didn't. So I don't know. And the first production model of the Tesla 3's just come off the production line, so that's quite exciting.
The very, very first one went to Mr. Musk, is my understanding.
Oh, really?
One of the people on the board reserved it, and then it went, "It's for you, Elon.
We made you a present.
We made you a present."
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very sweet.
Yeah.
When somebody has to make us a present.
Yeah.
Who's going to make me a present?
Elon, where's my Model 3? That's all
I don't need a Model 3. I need like a charging station. Come on, guys, over at Tritium, make MTD a charging station.
So they got, I think they're 20 off the production line this month. I think they're opening.
Yeah, and they're
100
more than...
in August, 1,500 in September, and 20,000 cars per month by the end of December.
Correct.
So
that's their plan. Although they have a history of never hitting ever.
No, so it's kind of amusing when they say that.
It is a little. I think, but probably by this time next year, maybe the 20,000. But I'm not really concerned. I just think it's good because it's kicking all the other OEMs in the ass to catch up.
I mean, the amount of people who put down that $1,000 deposit to reserve
spectacular
one.
Over 500,000.
Amazing.
Like that.
I know.
It just in seconds. It was pretty intense. Well, it's proof that the world's ready.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We've got one guy that keeps trolling us. He's from Alberta. Which is where I'm from. He's an old friend from high school. And he keeps on trolling us with all of the misinformation on batteries. And, and it's just a full-time job for my champions to talk to him and go, no, honey, that's not happening. But if 500,000 people are ready to take the plunge, you know, Alberta can do what it wants. That's not a problem.
That's so funny. So a few other things we need to cover before we finish up for today. I just want to talk about electric buses.
Yeah, that is a guest that we need.
Okay.
Yes, his name is Sitsa Tacoma.
Yes.
Yes, and I think we can probably host him and his girlfriend up here in Auckland.
Cool.
And bring him into the studio. He is a prodigy, I think it's fair enough to say. He built his own electric motorcycle, and Ian Wright handpicked him.
Nice.
And he's doing the conversions for the NZ bus.
cool. Yeah. So they're basically converting all the electric buses, trolley buses in Wellington to battery pack electric.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, or they...
You're looking at me like I know more than I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to ask
I'm just trying. I'm searching in my brain for the information, but we'll talk to your friend and we'll get all the information and all the details about it. But it's really exciting. But then another one caught my eye was they've actually created an electric bus that does 350 k's, battery electric bus. Called the Catalyst E2 series bus that I just saw on
Oh, that's
Facebook.
that big silver one. Yeah. I've seen that. It's very cute.
Yeah, so it's got a 350-mile range,
That's awesome.
Which is insane.
Well, it's because they're heavy. Yeah. So it's okay.
Yeah. It's 660 kilowatt-hour pack.
Could you imagine?
Only 800,000. I don't know what a bus is worth.
$800,000. Well, you'd probably want to kit it out really nice on the inside.
Yeah. I don't know what a bus would cost.
Why? How would I know what a bus would cost?
$100,000? I don't know. 800 seems quite a lot.
It's probably, but any emerging technology.
It's going
to be expensive, even if,
But I like it. I like the idea. These big battery electric,
The other one that's really cool, that's been happening for ages, it was some people in the Manawa I adore them. I can't remember their names at the moment. They did a garbage truck.
Yes.
Which is perfect, because it can be as heavy as you want.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to go far.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to go fast.
Yes.
So it was a stroke of genius, and I absolutely love those guys. And I'm going to have to give them a shout out on another podcast, because we see them every time we're in Palmerston North. Yep. Yeah.
They actually got in touch with me when I was building my car back in the day, and they were just starting,
their conversion
or
they're
development.
Fantastic. Yeah. The champion of Palmerston North is an amazing woman who I am deeply in love with, named Sue Pugmire.
Oh, cool.
And she just champions all of it. And she fought so hard to get a charger in there. But yeah, she gets it.
That's great. And just sort of, this is more rumour, but just to, if you've seen on the news, recently the New Zealand Transport ran a test of the EVs in the bus lanes, which is, I've always liked the idea of it. But, talking with Dee before the show, it's like, when we get, thousands and thousands of EVs on the road, it's not going to be viable. But it's a nice incentive for early adopters.
Okay, this caused a lot of friction in our community and with the public at large. It wasn't announced in a very elegant or comprehensive or clear way to the public in general. The fact is, this stuff works, and it's not forever. So it's worked in California. It's worked, way ages ago, people were encouraged to drive by Priuses because they were allowed in the high occupancy lanes.
Yes.
And you can't do that anymore. Get out, because it's for batteries and actual high occupancy. BEVs. When I say BEV, it's a battery electric vehicle.
Yeah.
And when we say FEV, it's a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. Just FYI. So there's research up the wazoo, and it works. And people love it. And people, it's that little tiny incentive for early adopters to actually take the plunge into buying a car like that. Yeah. And Norway kicked it out of the park. You can't be in a bus lane anymore because they got too crowded, because there's too many cars.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, they told you specifically. He told you not to do that.
It's on silent.
Oh,
sorry,
Theo,
that was just my
Theo,
iPad.
You're going to get a spanking. And I'm totally going to tape it.
I was trying to look at my notes. So that's quite interesting. So, we may or may not be able to drive them.
The rumor is August. They'll have an announcement. That's the thing about New Zealand, Nothing's a secret.
It just either happens or we just talk about it for
this is an election year, so everybody's on. We got a whole bunch of people electioneering on electric vehicles because it's kind of a win-win.
Yeah.
It's
very relevant.
Economically, there's a really great argument. There's not a lot of people against it, so it's a nice, safe one. It's not like poverty or pro-life versus pro-choice. It's just kind of simple. So we got a lot of the political parties jumping on board. I've been really surprised where the support has come from politically, and I've been really surprised where the support is lacking politically. But I don't do politics. Other people do. I just try really hard not to offend people too much, and unsuccessfully for the most part. But that's okay. That's why we're doing a podcast, so I can offend you all.
So that's New Zealand, but further abroad, you might have seen in the news that France is banning
2040. Yeah, 2040.
Banning petrol cars.
A lot of the EU are leaning more towards 2025.
Yeah.
For no more ICE vehicles.
Yeah, so Norway and a few others, right?
Yeah, I think some of the Scandinavians and also Iceland, obviously.
Yeah.
And the Netherlands.
Netherlands, yeah.
And so we are kind of quietly confident that things are going to change anyway, and those goalposts are going to shift because they have. Because any technology, I mean, look at the iPhone, look at just any technology that's coming into play, and that includes electric vehicles. The adoption curve is so much steeper than it's ever been in the history of humanity. So I'd be surprised if anybody waits till 2040.
I'll be interested to see what New Zealand does.
Oh my gosh, me and you both. But I think we're getting there. I was
thinking about it, on the drive into the studio this morning, and I was like, there's this side of us that we so love our petrol cars, but I think we will make the shift. We might just be a little bit slow.
I don't know that we're going to be that slow, and I also think that there's going to be a place for petrol cars.
Yeah.
I think that on the track, and some people love the smell and they love the feel, and there's still enthusiasts that can make Model Ts and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
I think there's going to be a place for it, but I think New Zealand's actually going to. I'm the opposite of you. I think we're going to shift a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Because we can, and with us Kiwis, we are so cheap.
Yeah.
And if the it's true, right? And if the economic argument, and if the cars are a reasonable price, which they are fast becoming, you can get a Leaf for $10,000.
Yeah.
I mean, who can complain about that, right?
Yeah.
When that happens, the shift's going to be very, very, very fast.
Yes.
And it's our job, it's your job, it's my job, it's the entire community of pioneers' job to educate and empower people on the stuff they need to know, because there's so much confusion.
And put their fears to the side and just say, look, guys, it's not as scary as you think it is.
No, and it's much cooler. And
it's
they
much
go
cooler.
Much faster.
They do go much faster.
Look at you.
I must say, the new Nissan Leaf I quite like the look of. That's coming out in 2018.
The Gen 3.
September.
Gen 3, yeah. What's the battery?
60 kilowatts.
My goodness.
So there's like three...
My Beamer is a 60, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's heap spur.
Yeah, that's heap spur.
Yeah, heap spur.
Heaps of batteries in that car.
It'll go everywhere.
So that's pretty cool, the Nissan Leaf. But hopefully. Well, I mean, the government just needs to go, hey guys,
we want to make this worth your while.
We want to make this worth your while, and we're gonna.
It's too late to offer subsidies when but they would be it'd be in their best interest to offer awesome tax incentives for fleet owners. That would be massively helpful, because those fleet cars are the only New Zealand new cars that really end up in New Zealand, because we have such a robust secondhand market. And so the way that you get that change is to make it worthwhile for fleet owners. And our team talks to various fleets and taxi companies and so on and so forth several times a week, because that's where it's at, and that's where the government could make a huge difference, is making it worthwhall.
Because China's put all their a huge fleet of their taxis being converted over to electric.
Most of them, their buses overnight. But they can do that.
They can do that. They've got the reason.
You're going to do this, or I'm going to put you up against the wall. Okay, because that's what we do here. So just do the thing.
Make it happen.
Make it happen. Make it so. But there's some lovely quotes and stuff coming out of Chinese business environment, and they are the culture has changed. It hasn't been. It's been who cares, and that don't worry about the smog. Look at how cheap we can make McDonald's toys, and it's changing. People they're concerned about the oceans. They're concerned about the air quality. They're concerned about their own people. And it's just kind of a shame it took so long for them to get concerned, or anybody else. India, amazing. They're banning plastic.
Wow.
And they're moving electric. They're moving solar very, very quickly. Micro and macro. Yeah.
Perfect place for it.
It is. They have a lot of sun.
Yeah. I mean, lots of countries are kind of going, oh, solar's quite good, isn't it? We have sun. We should use it. I mean, American Samoa, I didn't realise was completely, self-sufficient and makes sense. They're a little small island. They can kind of do that.
Didn't David do that?
He may have.
I think he did.
He may have.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
I know they're trying to build
He's a little
solar
scared of me.
state.
I don't know why. Every time he sees me, he's like, "Oh shit!"
Segue, yeah. But Samoa, Western Samoa, I think they were trying
They're working
to put
towards it. Yeah.
But
Tonga,
yeah.
they've done it. They did it quite a while ago.
Yeah.
Hawaii has amazing solar arrays.
Free charging in Hawaii.
All over the place. Slow charging, free slow charging. I'm not sure
slow
about
charging,
I'm not sure about that. But you don't need much more than slow charging
No,
because the
'cause it's
islands
not
are so
very big
little,
island, yeah.
and you don't go very far. And
Yeah.
you park to go and buy your coconuts or whatever.
Yeah.
Not that you need to buy coconuts. You can just find those.
Just run up a tree.
Exactly.
Easy.
Why not?
Yeah, cool. And last thing I wanted to talk about for this podcast was I saw in the news that Volvo's going all electric as well.
Mm-hmm. And Rolls-Royce.
So another one, and Rolls-Royce.
And they're skipping the hybrid.
Yeah.
They're just going.
Which makes total sense. I mean,
Obviously, I think it does.
Yeah. Now we have that ability to get that range that we need out of the electric. Why go hybrid?
No, agreed. Well, 2021 as well. The price
Yes,
bracket
yeah.
for building at the OEM level for building an electric car is going to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
And that's not far away. That's like 2-3 years. And in the life cycle of the whole dinosaurs risk averseness that are the vehicle manufacturers, that's quick. So they got to get on board or they'll get left behind. So good on them.
Yeah.
Again, Toyota, where the heck are you?
I know, it's insane.
You used to be the most popular car in New Zealand and you ain't going to be for long.
Bizarre, isn't it?
It's not bizarre. There's something somewhere that we don't understand. What is it? Illuminati confirmed.
Yeah. Yeah, some conspiracy.
There's a conspiracy. I don't care.
Yeah. Okay, well, that kind of wraps us up for today, I think. And thanks, Dee. It's been a pleasure as always.
Always.
And we will see you all again soon. Thanks for listening. And do subscribe to the podcast on Podcasts NZ. So we are the NZ EV podcast. And see you next time.
See ya.
If you enjoyed listening to our podcast, check us out on podcast.nz or subscribe to us on iTunes today. Thanks for listening.